Do you have an idea for real?
No. Well, good evening and welcome to Pastors in Plaid, where Jared is frustrating me beyond all limits this evening. So this will be an interesting discussion. I've got Jeff over here on FaceTime with us to help us monitor questions. I think Jared showed up about 2 minutes ago and took all his time setting up equipment and knocking mine
You
over.
have an iWatch. You should know what time it is.
Yeah, maybe you should get one so you know what time it is. I was set up and ready to go.
What's an iWatch?
Yeah, he doesn't. He's just making stuff up. iWatch.
I don't know these fancy things. I'm not a Presbyterian.
Yeah, clearly. Clearly.
I'm just a humble servant of the Lord, the Methodist faith.
Well, the good news is I don't think anybody's. Oh, we have one person watching, and I'm pretty sure that's Jeff right now. So
I forgot. I'm glad. I think you're so far away I can't see, but I see at least 2 different pictures. So it's good to see you. I didn't even post anything on our Facebook page. I honestly
didn't
forgot
either.
it's Wednesday. I don't know what day of the week it is this week.
Here's the problem: is you are. Oh, now we're. I don't have anybody watching on our feed. This is a problem with being a pastor on the week after Easter. Normally, I'm on vacation right now because I'm dead exhausted, and I'm not. I'm here with you, and I'm still dead exhausted.
Yep.
So maybe everybody else. It is Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think we've got maybe 3 people watching now on ours. I do, in case one of the 3 is Lauren Yamamoto. Lauren, I want to thank you for making me, for making my family face masks. She made a Chicago Cubs one on one side, and on the other is basketball.
I thought it was going to be White Sox, and that was going to.
That would be probably wise.
Depending on what neighborhood you're in.
That's right. North side or south side. So, anyways, I wore this the other day, and I wanted to say thank you. I don't even think you're watching, but thank you.
Well, Renee's watching, so that's all that really matters here.
Oh, good. You have one tuning in now?
Yeah. Yeah.
My app is still updating here.
We have 3 now, so we are cooking. Jared, what are you preaching this Sunday?
I am, yeah. Sorry.
What are you preaching on?
We are starting a new series. We originally were going to do a series called Growing Gardens, and we were going to follow the rest of the stories in John after Jesus' resurrection. But in light of everything going on, we have made an adjustment, and so we're doing Growing Gardens in the Desert. And this Sunday, we are talking about going from surviving to thriving in the desert. We're looking at 2 passages. John chapter 1, when John the Baptist says that he is making a way for Jesus, and then the Isaiah, I think it's chapter 40 that he's quoting.
Gotcha.
Prepare the way for the Lord.
I don't remember a garden in there.
Well, you'll have to tune in and see.
I just might.
How about you? What are you guys doing?
I don't know. Austin is preaching this Sunday. Oh, the Dawes and the Severas are here now too, so we're starting to, people are logging in.
Hey Jeff, could you maybe monitor Ridge's Facebook too? Because I can't see a comment or question. I think I see maybe a comment, but I didn't bring my laptop tonight.
Yeah,
Surprise,
I'm still
surprise.
updating my app here, but yeah.
I did bring the my own holder for it though, so that's a win. What's Austin preaching on?
I don't know. I didn't ask him. Oh no, I did. He's doing Doubting Thomas.
Oh yeah, that's the next
Step.
pericope.
Yeah, the next.
Remember that?
The next
People are
pericope.
tuning in. Pericope,
Yeah.
not pericope, but pericope.
And then I'm gonna do John 21
Nice.
when I'm back.
Which part?
I'm going to take it basically from Jesus showing up all the way to like verse 19 through verse 19, where he's talking to Peter and saying, "Feed my sheep," over and over again.
Yeah. A good one,
Yeah.
especially at such a time as this.
Yeah,
Anytime.
and you know, for me, I think with that scripture, it's so fitting for now because you have, you know, Peter and the disciples, who Jesus at this point has even appeared to post-resurrection, and it just says later, it doesn't say how much later, but they go back to the way life was, what they knew before, right? As if things hadn't changed. And so I think it's a really good time to kind of talk about what does a new normal look like for us? I mean, what does life return to after this? You know, I think about that especially like when I go to the store, which I try to do on a minimal basis, but we're out of pet food and dinner food tonight, so that's where I'm headed after this. I view everybody there suspiciously and like they're an enemy in the plague, and so I try and stay away from them. So when this is over, do we come back together and start hugging again, or is it that now we've gone through this period where we've viewed everybody as a potential enemy, that everybody becomes suspicious and we keep our distance? You know, so like what does a new normal look like? And I'm not necessarily confident that what God is calling us to when this is done is to return back to the way life was.
I think that's great. Just kind of set the table for a conversation tonight, maybe wrestling through that of what, not to get ahead of ourselves because we don't know the timeline or what's going to unfold, but it's a question I think that is worth tilling the soil now. Mm-hmm. One of the ways I like to think about some of these hard conversations is pushing them upstream. So like the best time to talk about dying is 20 years before you die.
Well, that is, it's hard to talk about it after you die.
That's the thing. That's, late on that one is probably too late. And at the time, I mean, you can, but before the crisis to prepare for it. I was listening to, an interview or report that Dr. Fauci had said, the handshake should probably be a thing of the past. And that really kind of rocked my boat a little bit there. You can go back to your iPad article. It's okay.
No, I'm sorry. I was just
I'm teasing you.
I struggle with that, right? Because it's like there's that balance between fear and security. You know what I'm saying? And like what life is worth living. Yeah. And I'm not sure a life without human contact is, I don't want to say it's not worth it, but
yeah,
I would rather get hugs and be prone to getting sick than not. And
yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's going to. I'm still at a risk for cancer. I'm still at a risk for heart disease. I'm still at a risk for, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like there's only so much mitigation you can do. But let's face it, death is inevitable, right? I mean, so I guess the question is, like with anything, like with what foods you eat and stuff like that. It's what risk is acceptable to you? And to me, I think human contact is an acceptable risk. To some, it might not be, and we've got to respect that, I guess. But
so that's a question that's playing out at an economic level of what is the cost benefit analysis. So on the one hand, there's the personal kind of question we ask ourselves of whether it's eventually giving handshakes or hugs. I mean, that's in the grand scheme of things relatively trivial compared to like the congressman, was it today or yesterday, from Indiana, who expressed a more of an eagerness to get back to business as usual, even though there will be implications for doing so. So yeah, I don't know. Do you want to dive into 21? I guess we're kind of setting the table here, and I'd be interested as we are fielding comments or questions from you all of what does a new normal look like for you?
Jim's got a good comment. The old normal was normal, but it wasn't necessarily all that great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Jim.
Could you maybe expound on that a little bit, Jim? Because I think this is a really interesting I mean, I'm seeing that kind of comment pop up in certain places more and more, and I think there's a lot of wisdom in it, especially as we maybe parse out some of the particulars of what are some things worth letting go of. That's one of the questions of Lent, right? And if you're a person who fasts or gives up something, what is it that's worth letting go of? What should we leave behind in the wilderness? I think those are good questions to be asking.
Well, what do you think the answer is, Jared?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, that's helpful. Thanks.
Okay, so you know one thing, one thing I have been seeing, and I appreciate its intent and what it's saying, is that the church is not a building. I mean, that's the old song I grew up singing. The church is not a building, or the church is not a steeple. The church is not a building. The church is the people. You know that. You ever seen that old hymn? Is that in your hymn books or any songs you grew up singing?
Not that I recollect.
I don't think that's in our hymn book.
We always would do the here is the church, here is the steeple, here are the doors, open them up and see all the people.
Yes. Or there's where are all the people.
Oh, where are all?
You know, you could do both. You could do both.
Yeah, if you don't know how to interlock your
As
fingers
the kids.
correctly to do it, then you're like, my church is empty.
We would do it both ways. It's like I don't know, but and I appreciate that the church is not the building. And I think for too long we've maybe become more of a country club than actually a church. But one thing I'm finding though that I want to get back is the building. There is something profoundly missing in us not being able to congregate together on Sundays, certainly, but also throughout the week. One of the things I'm missing most is just the people who are in our building throughout the week. That like I'd see like certain people 3-4 times a week who aren't on staff. They're just around the building at Bible studies or serving for the soup kitchen. I mean, the place and the building matters, and that's something that I want to get back.
Yeah, I mean, I think the building, at least here is like the ground zero of where we do ministry from, right? It's not that you go to church, but you need a location to do church from, and you need a place for the community to gather. I mean, if church is community, that's totally the example we see in the book of Acts, right? Which is the model of kind of what church is supposed to be and do and look like. It's all about community. And virtual community is good, right?
I think it's good enough.
But the snow was finally the thing that broke me this morning. I woke up and there was snow on the ground, and I was just like, screw it. You know what I mean? Like I was like, what is the point? It's whatever, right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
And it's funny, part of it was, this week, because Austin's preaching, because it's post-Easter, it's a little bit of a quiet, I thought it was going to be a little bit of a quieter week, and it has been in some aspects for me.
Yeah.
But, I was, all last week when it was nice and sunny out, all I wanted to do was take my camera out and go shoot things, go do photography. And it was like, no, I gotta buckle down. Jeff and I had some big plans for Easter, and there was a lot of work that went into it, and that was my saving grace, right? Was next week I'm going to go out, and then I wake up and it's snow, and I'm like, it's cold, I don't want to go anywhere, I don't want to do anything. Of course, I worked through all the nice days, and now I am not busy during, and I emailed, we don't have bishops, right? We have general presbyters in our presbytery. We call it a visioning and connecting leader, who I love dearly. She's my pastor. I'm going to get weepy talking about her. I really am. Jennifer Burns-Lewis, I think, is we believe in the priesthood of all saints, or the sainthood of all believers, but I really think this woman is more saint-like than anybody. Mm-hmm. And I texted her, I'm like, I'm just done. All I want to do is go to a restaurant and have lunch with a friend that I haven't seen and talk. Yeah. Yeah. And she's like, well, do you want to do virtual lunch? And I'm like, no, that's a problem. I'm so tired of virtual.
Yeah.
Granted, last night we had our session or board meeting, and it was 45 minutes on Skype. And on Zoom, and I was like, man, if all our board meetings are going to be 45 minutes, we're just going to do Zoom meetings.
Yeah, right.
but I do, I even miss I even miss having committee meetings,
Yeah.
which is somebody who is not a big fan of meetings, especially since sometimes it seems meetings for meeting's sake.
Yeah.
Like I would settle for a meeting. I'm getting a lot of so Jim said to kind of expound the political economy. The income and wealth distribution are pretty hosed up. Renee says it'll be a slow road to settle into a new normal, and how we determine it will be as individuals and a society. Dave Dawes on ours said, I want or I would like has become I need. Katie Sanchez, hi Katie, good to see you again. Says, I feel like I've lost my village in raising my kids. And that really does make things difficult.
Wow. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Oh, Ann Severa says Tanya's is this Puerto Rican restaurant straight up Indianapolis. I'm not quite to Whiting. It's
Tanya's?
oh yeah.
Huh.
You and I will go there. If you
That
like
sounds
Puerto
great.
Rican food,
Anyway,
we will get to Severa's and we will go there. It is
that sounds great.
so good, so good.
That sounds
And the waitress Leslie there is super nice. Yeah, and Jim said he could see session meetings remaining on Zoom. And I don't know. Hey Jeff, does anybody from Ridge weigh in or from?
Let me see. I'm trying to help Sally get on here.
Oh,
Yeah. Ann Zatorsky says she's missing women's Bible studies so much. And Cindy Zalai says being the church is more than a physical place. That's from Dan, I guess.
Yes. Yes, and that's a good realization. Like I think the both and is something I'm appreciating more and more. Yeah, I mean I was speaking of when you were talking about that. I was saying that I had a Zoom meeting on Monday or Sunday night. That wasn't a meeting. That was with friends. Easter evening, and I was just lamenting. It's like I'm getting tired of talking into a camera. I'm getting tired of preaching into a camera. I'm so thankful that we have this medium, that we can still be together virtually, even though we're not able to get together. And I was having I had a phone call with someone who doesn't really have the internet capabilities to watch it, and they're alone. And like how much more the pain is exacerbated for that person. But I'm getting tired of the virtual interactions. As thankful as I am for them, it's also that I miss the people.
well, it's interesting. Like the medium of preaching. Generally, I always compare a lot to jazz, right?
Yeah.
And I always try to envision a sermon like a jazz composition, and sometimes I feel like I'm Miles Davis and I'm up there and I'm rocking and I'm so cool, and my biggest fear is like Kenny G'ing away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no immediate feedback to know where you're at or how it's going or anything like that. So I've done both theater and film production before. Theater acting mainly, and then film mainly behind the scenes, and it's very much the difference between wrapping a film versus wrapping a theater production. Like it's two different reactions and didactics, and I find it it's a total shift even in the way of sermon construction, like writing a sermon or thinking through how we're going to do it. And I haven't decided if I have a preference, except that I miss corporate worship.
Yeah.
Right? The sermon piece, like, I'm okay, like, it's a different style of creativity. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
It feeds me in a different way. When I finish putting things together, it's more, I feel like I have something more concrete that I can share, like I made a product or something.
Yes.
Where when I'm done with corporate worship, when we're together, it's more of an exhaustion and that's over, but then it's like gone, right? Like that's gone.
Yeah.
So it's nice having something that I can kind of say, hey, I made this, versus like, oh yeah, that's was a good moment.
Yeah.
But I miss the interactive corporate part of worship. It's very different.
I agree. There's a Jay-Z has a video for a song of his called Picasso Baby, and it's or Picasso, and it's an interactive. It's the same thing like for an artist. Like the artist puts together their heart into the piece, but the viewer brings themselves to it as well, and there's this beautiful interaction that takes place that I am just finding. I live for the moment. Like that's one of the reasons why I don't like to historically I've not liked to broadcast services. There's also theological reasons for it, but it's mostly that moment, like that, and that interplay that we don't have as readily now via stream.
Jeff, did we lose stream? I'm not having video show up on mine.
Let me check.
I thought that's what you were doing.
I'm looking at Ridge and I'm trying to help. Oh no, ours is still up.
Okay, so
My Ridge feed just died. I have to switch devices, and I'm trying to get Sally Van Bachlen on here.
I see. Oh yeah, my video just went down, so I don't know if we're, but I will trust you.
Refresh the page.
You're up. You're still up.
Okay, good. Sorry, what were you saying?
So if you refresh the page.
Well, I'm afraid if I refresh, it's going to end the live video, so I'm just going to let it slide.
Gotcha. Yeah.
As long as we're showing up,
So I think that, I mean, I don't know, just as we look, going ahead, one of the things that we've talked about is, we both have an appreciation for the arts, and there's a lot of mediums, whether that's film or TV shows or sculptures or architecture or music. And I think that's one of the things that Quincy and I are talking about is doing a mini series on that, and maybe I mean, there's a lot of fertile soil there that'd be fun to like chill out, and then overlaying that or intermingling it with the liturgical calendar. So as we look ahead.
Yeah.
Jim Severa says it's important that our deacons and elders continue to stay in touch with congregants. I don't think anyone has really expressed real needs yet, but it is sort of the thought that counts.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. We need to be very much more conscious about communication and connecting and reaching out to other people now.
Yeah. Well, that makes
and
me
then
think.
from Ridge, Christina Schumacher says, I totally miss being in the sanctuary, having Jared speak to me, in quotes.
Wow, Jared, somebody actually likes it when you talk to them?
That's right. just one. Thank you, Chris. Actually, I had leftovers for lunch today, Chris. So thank you very much for the delicious spaghetti pie.
Ooh.
She brought over. I haven't had spaghetti pie in so long, and it was delicious.
Yeah.
And they brought over flowers from their garden, which was good timing because today it was covered in snow.
Yeah.
So the flowers were a welcomed addition to our living room.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I'm tired. I wonder how you all are doing today as as Quincy and I are kind of verbally processing here.
Well, Renee says that she's getting exhausted of seeing wealthy people saying we're all in this together when so many families and small children are struggling and going hungry. And I think that's understandable. I think we're all going through this very differently. And like even my experience of I'm essential, and I'm here a lot of the time, and my wife is not. She's mainly working from home.
Yeah.
And so I know that her experience of this is very different than my experience of this.
I saw a really thought-provoking cartoon today about that very thing of how, like, it was an apartment complex or a condo, whatever, in the city, and like in the penthouse you had the violinist playing and the family with their wine glasses being serenaded on their balcony. And then as you go down each tier, there are different levels of people, how they're experiencing it. And like you had the one elderly person alone on their chair. And then when you got to the street, it was crowded with people who are making minimum wage.
Right.
Taco Bell workers were going on strike today, I think in Chicago maybe, in at least one location, because they want some protection and like hazard pay for being in where they're at.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them. I mean,
Nope.
I don't, not one bit. And I mean, I know that there are some folks who are starting to get their checks today from the government, and it's, I don't know. I struggle with that, especially in my life right now and where we are. It's just like again, we hit on this briefly last week, but like and that's not that residents of Munster or any other community are you don't want to paint with a broad brush, but demographically, if you go across the river, it's a significant. People in Hammond are experiencing this much different as a whole than people in Munster as a whole are experiencing this pandemic, and I struggle with that.
Yeah.
So,
how do you witness them experiencing this?
like, how do I think, or how do I literally witness them?
How do you think?
Well, I'm very concerned on a number of levels of like people who are already in food deserts. I used to live in I've spent several places I've lived have been in food deserts where the only place to get groceries was Dollar General or the gas station. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the domestic violence issues.
Yeah, that's the one that comes to my mind constantly.
Yeah. So like my mom's a first grade teacher, and I'm concerned about homes that aren't safe for a variety of reasons. And I mean, that weighs heavy on my heart. And whoever was talking about the income, what was the comment about the
political economics? I think that was a while back.
I just
and Renee has a quote about. Oh wait, yeah. I'm getting exhausted of seeing wealthy people saying we are all in this together when so many families and small children are struggling and going hungry.
That was that Gal Gadot. Like a week into this, the Wonder Woman actress, she had all of her friends singing Imagine, John Lennon's Imagine. And like they released it like a week in. It's like, you're the last person I need to hear. Like, I don't need to hear you all singing this song about wonderful world. Like, you have your pools, you have your beautiful homes, you have basketball courts in your house. Like, I don't need to be.
Did you see the video of the musician that took that video and then put music behind it, and he had to change keys like with every different artist? It was pretty amazing.
Oh no, I don't think I saw that one. I saw another one that was
That
making
was
fun of
uplifting
it.
for me.
It's hilarious. But, yeah. So one of the questions I'm wrestling with is how do certainly this is contextual to each one of our circumstances, but how do Easter people live differently in this time than others? I mean, however you want to say it. I want to know how Jesus, followers of Jesus, how Jesus' followers should be different. Easter people could live differently in this season, in this time.
Well, I think the very much what we've been talking about, being very intentional about how we do community, understanding that there are needs that others have that maybe we can reach out and alleviate. I think a huge part of it too is not letting go of hope, of not succumbing to apathy or darkness or any of the other things that plague us, really, emotionally, spiritually. And I really, I mean, that's the tricky thing, is like our traditional ways of helping is presence, and what's asked for to help is non-presence, at least non-physical presence.
Right.
But I think being a presence in people's lives, whether it's through the technology we have, phones, reaching out, finding needs. We've given out, we've gotten a lot of calls for medical equipment, like walkers and wheelchairs and things like that.
Mm.
And so making sure that those are given out, just being aware of what people's needs are and trying to meet them and help them. And I think another big thing that we don't talk much about is that with the anxiety level and the stress level in our culture right now, people's ropes are very short.
Yeah.
And people are very easy to snap.
Yeah.
And so being patient with others and being patient with yourself, I think, is a huge thing that would be an act of faithfulness, of realizing that things that were jokes before, that will be jokes again, might be taken personally because people are short right now. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So having that patience and tolerance of others, and then also like when I feel myself getting angry about things or mad, like perfect example was today, right? I'll tell myself, I have a book over there. I've been trying to read it for a while. It was quiet. I didn't have much to do this morning. I kind of had my day charted out, so I left a big chunk of time for me to read. Every time I would read a paragraph, somebody was ringing the ring to drop something off, and then I'd go handle that. I'd just get settled in and start getting into my phone would ring, or and I was like, "Rah!" and
Yeah.
I, then realized, okay, dude, listen,
Yeah.
not a big deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then being patient with myself for the reason you're losing your temper on this is because there's 5,000 other anxious things going on.
Yes. Yeah. That made me think. Oh, go ahead.
Can I interject? Justin Rogers says he's encouraged to see the creativity and intentionality as churches are getting online, especially those that weren't previously and doing church in new ways. This is a bad situation that some good is coming from, and pray the church as a whole is better coming out of this. He also likes your beard.
Yeah.
But then Jim Severa replies, and yet there is so much stuff that's slipping away. Our youth programs, our meals for the homeless, external mission things we were planning on doing but have canceled, ... So we're, seeing the church in a different way, but some things that we had been doing are now kind of falling by the wayside just because they are, because of our situations.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of those things we're doing just in different ways, right? So I know Austin, at least here, has been very intentional with reaching out to the youth through video games and live streams and stuff like that. And, the cooking, we're kind of supplying raw goods to the Hammond shelter to feed people and things like that. But it's tricky. It's not the same. It's not the same at all. And so we are losing a bit. We really are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to be too quick to move to color code that we are. And I don't want to move too quickly out of that. That's something we talked about on Sunday is that Mary did not rush out of the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talked about that last week in our Bible study here of it was dishonoring to not name to sit with the loss. I mean, that's something that I really love about our Jewish brothers and sisters is that sitting Shiva. That's an incredibly beautiful thing. To give space to grieve with each other is important. And the book that I just keep coming back to is Barbara Brown Taylor, Learning to Walk in the Dark. One of the things that she talks about is learning to love the darkness. It's changed the way I think of instead of rushing to turn the light on at night, it's to sit out and to look at the stars, or instead of rushing to get out of the dark sanctuary, I sit in the stillness a little bit longer.
Right.
And
Renee's apologizing for being one of the ones that rang the bell, but she actually rang the bell while I was up getting coffee, so
Good.
she
Good
didn't
timing.
interrupt me at all. And I don't mind the interruptions, I really don't. And they're all like, that's the thing,
I know.
like when I get out of myself, like everybody who came by was dropping something off or picking something up to help other people, right?
Yeah.
So like the church is still engaged in the work of the church,
Yeah.
right? We might not do it corporately together, but everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are still engaged in caring and taking care of other people and doing the work of the church, right? So part of me wonders then, like, is this time, like, are we going to go back when this is over? Like, is the new normal? Are we just immediately going to start oversaturating our lives again? Because, like, there is something nice about not having so much on our plates to do. Right?
It's wild.
And like for me, this has allowed me to sit back and like I'm looking. I miss working out. I miss going to jiu-jitsu. I miss a fraternal organization I belong to, and I miss a lot of things in the life of the church. Right? Like those are the things I miss. So then like that other stuff I was somehow involved in. Right? I mean, those are just my things. I miss
pruning.
like the kid stuff too. Right? I mean, like I don't want to say like. I'm just saying, like, for me, the things that I do to feed me, like, so then those other things, right, like, are they, how important are they to me? Are they things that I can let go of?
Yeah.
Right? And so maybe this is a way to help kind of streamline and simplify the church to say, what is it that we really hold important and what should we focus our energies on versus what are kind of things we do because we feel like we always do them or should do them or whatever.
100%. I mean, like, thinking of that from the church standpoint, it's like, if we ever argue about a bookcase or a carpet or, for our instance, the donut room, like...
Wait, you have a donut
That's
room?
what we call it. That's what we call it, like a fellowship room with donuts and coffee. Like, that just is tremendous because it's like, it's a fellowship space. But like if we get...
Point Ridge.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah, I think
I miss that. I miss
Westminster
it
people,
terribly.
I think we need to get on a donut room.
I miss donuts so much.
Yeah, Munster Donuts is closed.
I know.
Like, come on,
I
man.
know.
I
But,
get
like,
it. I get it.
But those are the things though, like that we don't have the privilege of arguing about anymore. Like it's time to be more serious about being the church, and the more we get, like, it's, you know, I don't know. But you know, you were talking about the irritability and our shorter fuses. I started thinking about like times in the Bible when people also found themselves anxious and irritable. So
Jesus.
well, that's the thing. I think that one of the models I keep coming back to of Jesus that I'm not good at is that Jesus regularly went away by himself to pray, to care for his soul, to commune with his Father. One of the
And
formative
he still
scriptures.
lost his temper.
Well, if you're talking about the money-changing one, I think that's a different.
Well, a few different. I mean, he killed a fig tree for not producing figs out of season.
know, well,
I
that's
mean,
a
that's
different
kind of a jerk move, right?
Think he grow back. Get the cause shade over him.
He's like, what do you mean figs aren't in season? Die, tree.
but they.
It's kind of like reading your book at work and being mad you're being interrupted by people trying to help others.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you know, I don't think that's that bad. Like, I mean, Martha and Mary, I mean, I understand what you're saying, both sides of it, and I empathize with it. But, like, Martha and Mary, when Jesus comes to visit them, and Martha's mad because Mary's not helping her. Martha's doing a lot of really good stuff, like, needed to be done things, but Mary did what was better. And I think a missed opportunity that could come out of this is trying to carve out time to be more aware of God, to commune with God, knowing that it's also perhaps infinitely more difficult to do it. We've got 4 little ones at home that are up and at 'em by 5:30, and by the time they go to bed, we're done. And so, like, it's nonstop watching the kids or trying to juggle things, trying to get work done in between. And so, like, but if we're not using this wilderness time to prune our lives from activities or to think about what's worthwhile, but also to tend to our souls, then we've missed an incredible opportunity. It's right and it's good for us to grieve, but, like, this is also an opportunity for us to let go of some old ways and to re-embrace some old ways as well.
Scott Iverson from Ridge says he's got two things. We are saving so much money, I think I realized how wasteful I was before. And then he says, I like the services online. I think it connects people in new ways. Those that go south can tune in. Those in Hartsfield can tune in and not just get a modified service. Also, I think it should be stated that I think Gal Gadot's heart was in the right place.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, lay off Wonder Woman.
I love that movie. I was open the new one. I don't know if they're pushing that back as well.
You know, one of the things I've really enjoyed selfishly throughout this time, and this ties into kind of Wonder Woman, Michael, our building manager, and I have had to spend a lot of time together because we're usually the only two here. And so, we've been very conscious about taking time because both of us are kind of hectic, but we take time to have lunch together and then we watch a movie. And well, first it was like just an episode or something, right? Mm-hmm. But we've decided we're going to go through the Marvel series together. And so we take these breaks to sit down and watch a movie and hang out and like get to know each other and like connect and like that's been really life-giving to me and really feeding me, especially like I'm not very good at forcing myself to take breaks, and I usually don't sit down through entire movies because usually the only time I'm watching television or anything is like late at night to when I'm falling asleep. Mm-hmm. So it's been neat to like sit down and intentionally watch something.
Yeah.
We just watched Captain Marvel, which, you know, Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel. I think, but, you know, if we want to get on this discussion, I think Wonder Woman was a better movie.
100%. I'm a more of a Marvel fan than DC
yeah,
universe.
Me too.
But I don't even care.
Wonder Woman was a better movie, but Captain Marvel would win in a fight every single time.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I don't. I was not prepared.
Ripped it apart.
I was not prepared to go into this tonight. I will just say.
Anyway, sorry.
I think that they are completely. I think that Marvel has completely botched Carol Danvers, who is Wonder Woman. I'm sorry, is Captain Marvel. I am just so disappointed in the ways that they have shown her in the films.
Yeah. Michael and I tended to agree with you. Like, especially with the, like, when she shows up and she's like, where's Nick Fury? And it's like, dude, even if you were on other planets, half of life has disappeared. Maybe that's where Nick Fury is? Like, why are you surprised there's an emergency?
Brie Larson, I don't know. I mean, she's a better actress than, like, I think that the writing is so bad that, like, it's making her worse in this. But anyways, that's I will legitimately say that Wonder Woman was a good movie, and
it's the best DC movie so far.
Yeah. Yes.
Minus the Christian Bale Batman.
Right.
But the Christian Bale Batmans don't count.
That wasn't part of the DC EU.
Right. Is this all what you all expected when you tuned into Bible study, that we would start nerding out on comic books?
Post-Easter conversation.
Yeah, see, it's post-Easter brain, man. You know, right. It really is. It's so funny. I'm going to look at one of the reasons I joined, I'm reading Ann Severa here, said, one of the reasons I joined Westminster is because I felt that the church was above average and not normal. I'll agree, not normal. And look at who their pastor is. But Ann was here before I was. People helping others was so obvious to me from the beginning, and it's so true today through the pandemic. There's so many connections going on beyond online, Saturday, Sunday, and Bible study. Renee says, one of my favorite authors, God has me by the hand, leading me now to perfect peace and plenty. Just try to say that over and over to myself during the... Oh, that's not off topic. That's beautiful. And David, I'm actually not a millennial.
Me either. By a long shot.
And I don't think it's always DC versus Marvel. I think once they start making Sandman and some of these other things, like the Neil Gaiman comics into movies, then I don't think there's going to be a dispute between DC and Marvel. I think it's going to be that versus everything else, essentially.
I'll be interested to see that John Krasinski is apparently in conversation with Mark Feige of Marvel Cinematic Universe to potentially be. I mean, the rumor is that he would be Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I've seen
I
the
love
poster.
that
Yeah,
so much.
they haven't made a good Fantastic Four movie.
No, they've
yet.
been train wrecks. All of them have been absolutely awful. But if he and Emily Blunt would be, oh, I'd be so excited.
Can I interject something?
Please get us back on.
Relevant.
Please do.
Scott Iverson again. He says his kids are learning to get along, sort of. And also, I really appreciate Jared. He needs to know this. Thanks for your leadership. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to saying that he knows Ann Severa from Purdue Calumet. Hi, Ann.
Oh, look
that's
at that.
awesome. Thanks, Scott. Good for Isla and Charles. I will say I have been pleased overall. I have been very pleased with our kids. I'm not gonna lie. I've been very pleased with our kids. Period. That's just so. One of the things I don't know if we talked about this before. My kids are such a gift. As much as as so tiring as they are, our kids are so dang resilient. Our kids can find a way to play. Our oldest is 7. They go 7, 5, 3, 1. Basically, their birthdays are all either just happened or coming up.
Ann says, hi, Scott, by the way. Hi, Scott.
It'd be nice. Well, yeah. Anyways, it'd be nice maybe if we create our own webpage and live fed through it so we can get a cross conversation.
You mean create a Pastors in Plaid?
Actually move forward in that. We talked about it and we forgot with all the Easter Holy Week stuff.
Do you want to do that? We could make a Facebook page pretty easily. I mean, not right this second,
Yeah,
but
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Do a
Oh.
Facebook page.
yeah, let's do that.
Speaking of real quick with Charles, I can't read the comments. They're just too far away. But one of the things I've been lamenting for some of our young people are the graduation thing. So have you been seeing these post your senior high school picture or something like that?
Yeah, and I'm with the people who are like, oh yeah, just rub it into the face of class of 2020. You know what I mean?
Right? I know. Well, I do I was listening to a radio thing on the way here about kids they were going to be offered the SAT for free this year in some state, Indiana or Illinois, Chicago's NPR, and they couldn't do it this year. They were juniors, but just how many lives are being affected? Some of these things. I don't know. I mean, this is so. Then I look at Alice. Alice is from our church. She's 94, and I want to be like Alice. She's seen some stuff. She's lived through some stuff, hard stuff, and she overflows with life abundant. When the scriptures say, "My cup runneth over," that's Alice. I want to be like Alice. So it's when I look at people, role models like her, it's how can I be like her in this season? She's gone through these hard things, and yet she's still. I talked to her on the phone the other day. She's the same old joyful. She's stuck in Hartsfield, and they can't really get out of their rooms. But she says, I still go for walks. It's 6 laps around, and it's a mile, and I do that every morning. But we can't see each other, and that's so hard. I mean,
that's crazy.
But anyways, I'm trying to think of role models in this season that I want to be like, who are either doing it well or who have lived through hard times and came out better on the other side. And I'm trying to look at their lives to think about how I can emulate them.
That's interesting. Renee says we should do a Zoom meeting and have everybody wear plaid for one of these.
I love Zoom with 5 people is great. When you get over that, it is the worst.
It can be chaos.
Oh.
It can be, but that would be fun.
It would be fun. I'd like to get a screenshot of that.
I don't know about you. One of the things I've been doing lately is I've been watching biography documentaries, specifically on artists.
Where are you watching that?
On the television.
Well, I mean, do they have it on Netflix or
I have to a mixture of YouTube, Hulu, Amazon, and Netflix. I've been trying to find them. Netflix has this great series called Abstract: The Art of Design, where they take different artists from different things. I've watched the one on Platon, who's a photographer, mainly a portrait photographer, 5 million times. Every time I watch it, there's something new that pops out to me, right? So, granted, most of the artists I've been interested in are photographers, so there's a great one that you can rent from Amazon on Annie Leibovitz, who is just, and that's whose book I was reading today. She just blows me away. I've been finding watching documentaries about other people's lives has been really fascinating and interesting to me during this time.
Hmm.
Part of it is like I'm trying to limit my news intake to like 1 hour a day. And Tiger King was so helpful for that.
I know.
It really was.
I know. I agree.
Here's the amazing thing. Bhagavan Antle got his start in I don't want to call it a commune, but at this place called Yogaville.
Yoga?
Yogaville. That was started by Swami Satchidananda.
Really?
Swami Satchidananda he prayed in at Woodstock, right? And he built this lotus temple. It's beautiful.
In Virginia?
It's in Buckingham, Virginia. And we used to go, it's like one of my favorite places in the world to go. So my first church was in Buckingham. And I had these congregation members who I was very close with, the Lewises, Paul and Martha Lewis and their daughter Melissa and Ben. Melissa and I are relatively close in age, but the Lewises and they kind of adopted me. Especially that first call, I was going out there just on the weekends, and my family was staying behind in Richmond, and so like the Lewises would have me over for dinner and all this stuff, and we got close. Paul Lewis was one of the greatest storytellers I've ever met in my entire life. And he's weird, which is why I like him. But his stories would be really out there. And he'd always tell me the story about Bhagavan, who owned the zoo and lived next door to them, right? And I was kind of like, you ever see the movie Real Big Fish? Where the father tells his son these stories about his life, and like he's like, yeah, right. And then like at his funeral, all these people turn out, and he's like, holy crap, they were true. Oh, great movie, right? Yeah. So Paul kind of reminded me of that, right? Where he'd tell these stories, and like you could never tell what was true and what wasn't. And so like he'd talk about Bhagavan, who would ride his elephant and own the zoo next door to them, and like you could go and see the cages that were still there. And I was like, yeah, right. So then like I'm home during January reading National Geographic, which is one of my favorite magazines, and they're talking about this whole like that there are more tigers in captivity in the U.S. and like basically hitting on the things that are going on in Tiger King, right?
Yeah.
And Bhagavan Antle comes up in that, and I'm like, oh, so this guy does really exist, right? And then I watch Tiger King, and Doc Antle, this guy comes on, and I'm like, this might be the only person that Paul Lewis has undersold to me, right? Like
he's the South Carolina guy.
Yeah, so like that was the next door neighbor to the Lewises. He's like throughout the 80s, and I heard all these stories about him, and thought there's no way any of this can be true. And I'm watching Tiger King, and I'm going, wow, Paul didn't over exaggerate this at all.
I haven't watched the newest one yet.
It's basically like update. Yeah. It's worth watching Joe McHale interview these guys. So, but it's nothing you can't YouTube. David Spade interviews them too, and it's fantastic. Oh yeah.
That's funny. That's wild. That is. Yeah.
Everyone has their own TV show now. Viking Cruises and Harley Davidson both have their own networks online now. Huh.
Really?
Agree, Quincy. Big Fish. Oh, yeah. Big Fish. Not Real Big Fish. Big Fish.
That was a beautiful cinematic, like the artistry in that too was really cool.
You watched the movie Inferno Easter Evening. Oh, not Inferno Easter.
That's the new Bruce Willis movie.
Oh,
Inferno
okay.
Easter.
Inferno Easter, yeah. It's the sequel to Velocipaster, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. I started watching that.
Sarah Sweeney saw it. She recommended it. I still haven't gotten up enough courage to actually watch it. Have you seen this on Amazon?
I just saw the picture of it. I didn't watch it.
Maybe we should have a viewing party of that.
I don't know if I can do it. I can't. I don't know.
Velocipastors in Platt.
That's just. I do have my breaking point.
Yeah. All right. Well.
I'm sorry. I'm tired.
Yeah, I think I'm out of steam. Does anybody have any questions or comments they want to ask or send us or tell us, and we'll respond to those. And otherwise, I think we might get off the blower here. Oh, and a friend of mine called me out of the blue today, and it interrupted my reading, and that was super cool, though.
Yeah, that reminds me. So, like with the Lauren thing, who made this for me, she's challenging herself to bless one person every day. That's like one of her motivating things during this time. And I just think that was beautiful. Like she's just making these and mailing them to people, which is so cool. Or a phone call, or a letter, a card, whatever it is. Like, so I'm gonna take that on. Like, I'm gonna try to bless one person a day, or reach out to one person a day. Because that's tangible. I can do that. Like, it's not overly ambitious or whatever. Are there any questions? I'm sorry, I can't read the comments on my.
Somebody, Christine
Nothing from
Cangiano
Rich yet.
asked, "Is Velocipaster like Sharknado?" I imagine it's probably on the same level of production. It's about a minister and his, I think, prostitute girlfriend.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and then he gets like infected with this weird thing. He's like on mission trip in China and gets infected with this thing that turns him into a velociraptor, and like she convinces him to use that power to fight crime.
Totally is what it's about.
Yep.
Speaking of velociraptors, so like Jurassic Park shaped our cultural imagination about what velociraptors look like.
There is, I think it's on HBO though. There is an amazing documentary on Steven Spielberg though.
Oh, that'd be good. But real velociraptors were like smaller and probably had feathers and weren't nearly as like dangerous as what they are in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. And that was such a bubble popper for me.
A bubble.
I watched Dinosaur Train. Have you seen this?
No.
I love Dinosaur Train, but it's kind of rewriting my like childhood understanding of dinosaurs. I used to
Sound like
pronounce
Bob the Builder, but with dinosaurs? Or the Explorer, something like that?
yeah.
Dinosaur Train.
Yeah, it's awesome. Dinosaur Train. Once upon a time, there was a mom. Her name was Mrs. Pteranodon. That's a whole.
What are you drinking in that again?
I have been drinking so much water. This
Good
is
for
my
you.
new Nalgene bottle. I got it in the mail with the box I had. So
How about something serious? Don says, I just want to thank you for this chat. Made me feel better knowing everyone is feeling the same anxiety I am.
that's good.
Yeah, that helps, doesn't it?
I find that to be extremely helpful. So we're changing the church sign. I don't know if Dan got it done today because I texted him late. But I went back and forth on it. But our church sign is Jesus wept, and you can too. We're here for you. Like,
I like that.
there's just something to be said. Like, Jesus wept, and it's okay to feel these sad feelings. It's okay to feel irritable. It's okay to be annoyed. Even when people are doing good work and dropping things off here at the church, it's okay to feel annoyed that like you couldn't get in the flow of like wanting to read. It's okay that like I got super annoyed on Easter morning when the Switcher app didn't work and we had to drop the feed and start all over again on all Sundays. It was Easter, so like I don't know. It's okay that I get annoyed with my kids and that they get annoyed with me, or that Kate and I get annoyed with each other. I mean, it's just part of it right now.
I've not seen Jojo Rabbit. Somebody asked if I'd seen it. David Hicks, my former, he was a youth pastor. He was actually really formative in my life. Introduced me to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Introduced me to Calvin and Hobbes. And then he was the first person I ever saw smoke a pipe, which has become a deep passion and hobby of mine. So maybe not in the best way, but yeah. Also he got me into sci-fi a lot. He was really into sci-fi. So yeah, he and his son Peter. Peter was a year older than me. We used to hang out when he was our associate pastor and became good friends. And Dave was.
Jared, Danny says the sign has changed.
No.
Oh wow, good job. I texted you far later than I should have, so thanks, Dan.
But back to what you're saying, I think you're right. I think not even just permission to feel, but to know that you're in the same boat, that other people feel the same way you do, that it's hard on others. Maybe that's what that whole like celebrity, we're all in this together, maybe they're trying to say it's hard on all of us. And granted, I don't like doing the whole like
go, this is less hard than it is on you, or my suffering's greater than yours, because suffering is suffering, right?
That's
It's
the thing.
qualitative, not quantitative.
I mean, that's.
But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, like even like my struggle with this, I don't think is the same as my wife's struggle, right? I imagine it's probably more difficult on her than it is me, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, how do we quantify that with the people in Hammond versus the people in Gary versus people in abusive situations versus homeless people versus at-risk populations versus the people, you know what I mean? Like it's not a competition, right? But like, just to know that, like, okay, we all are feeling uptight. We're all are living in a state of anxiety. We're all living with fear, essentially. I mean, it's fear, right? And that's okay, you know? That it's okay to feel that way.
Yeah.
And like, I find it for me, Jared, I don't know about you, but like, it hits me in the weirdest ways, right? Like, I'll be fine, and then I'll watch, and if, like, when I was watching The Office, like, I'd start bawling at episodes of The Office, and I'm like, I'm crying at Dwight hugging Pam right now,
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a touching moment,
Yeah.
right? And it's like every emotion seems turned up to 11.
Yeah. So it's like, so that it's good to recognize that and name it, and to name it as like fatigue and weariness and weightiness. And so like I'm not a beacon or model for this, but like Peloton was giving away like 90 days free of their app. So I've started doing yoga in our living room, like 10 minutes every couple days, and like I'm just trying to find practices that restore my soul.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's photography for you or woodworking for me, organizing my shop and building a few things that aren't like projects but are fun things, like it's important to balance your self-care and your soul care too. So like one last thing before we go, because I know we're going overtime, like that Jesus suffered, that's not like that. I hope that takes a fuller meaning for us in this time, and not just like the Mel Gibson Passion of the Christ physical suffering, but like the suffering God is a profound soil worth tilling in our own minds of like this is a different kind of God.
Mm-hmm.
Who when Jesus says like I'm with you always, or like when God comes to us in Jesus, like that's a different kind of God that's with us in the fiery furnace, with us in the storms. I mean, I keep coming back to this, but with us in the desert places, with us in the anxiety and the frustration. Like that's a different kind of God, and I'm thankful for that God. That's one of the reasons why I'm a Christian, if not the biggest reasons, to be honest with you. But that's it.
Ooh, you know what? Maybe next week, let's have a conversation about why we're Christian.
Oh yeah, we had talked about that. All right, let's do it next week. Actually, that'd be fun because I had a friend in Seattle who started this movement in this church. He's sharing in 90 seconds to share like on Facebook or whatever why you are a Christian. Like that'd be fun. Let's talk about that. So next week,
Okay.
why are you a Christian?
And next week, what I will do is tomorrow, I'm going to set up a Facebook page for the Pastors in Plaid.
Cool.
And then, so next week, I think we will broadcast on that. But what we'll do is I'll make sure that I get out information for you to like the page. We'll try and share it on Westminster. I'll also share that live feed of the Pastors in Plaid on my Facebook page. And maybe, Jeff, if you could share it on the Westminster page, and you could share it on the... So there'll be ways to guide you to that in case you're used to finding it on here or you missed that message. But that's what we'll plan on doing. We'll start the
Be fun.
Facebook. And then that way the conversation, we don't have to have Ridge people and Westminster people. We can all be together and have that conversation at one location.
Yeah,
I think would be great.
I agree. It'd be fun.
And if you want to, in the meantime, write something up about why you are a Christian, and either email it or direct message me or Jared on Facebook, we will try and compile that and incorporate that
Yes.
into our discussion. So you have homework now. If you want to write us something about why you're a Christian, and we will do that together.
I'd love that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you tell us. So, Thanks for tuning in. So good to, honestly, it's good to be with you. I look forward to this. And though, like we lamented, like I can't see your faces. Like it just, this
and you're
interaction
stuck
is
seeing
really
our
good.
face.
That's right, exactly. It's good. It's a balm for my soul. So, peace be with you all. Do you want to pray us out?
I was going to ask you to do it.
I did last time. I'm okay with doing either way. You want me to pray?
You're so good at it.
Thank you.
I can do it though if you want.
I don't care.
All right, I'll pray.
All right.
But then next week it's your turn.
That sounds good.
Okay. Is this like casting lots for praying?
Remember you ever do that game, like last one put their thumbs up and youth group had to pray? Like praying was the punishment of these like games in youth group.
What does it say about us as pastors? Oh, one last story from Buckingham, Virginia. Helen Saxon was like
because I drank another full Nalgene bottle.
Helen Saxon was like the matriarch of the church, right? And my people have heard this story probably 100 times, right? And she invited me over for a Sunday dinner and after church, and she would often do that. And so I was over there once with her sons who were all grown. I mean, she was, old enough to be. She had grandchildren my age, and she asked me to pray. And I don't know, I was just overly tired that Sunday, but she was like, "Pastor, would you say the prayer?" I'm like, "Haven't I prayed enough?" And she was. So then, like,
You said
after
that
that, yeah.
Oh, no.
So then, like, after that, every time I was at her house for dinner, she'd be like, I had to ask Quincy to pray, but he's probably prayed enough today. Never let me live that down. So let us pray. Let us pray. God, we thank you for this time together. We thank you for the miracle of modern technology where we can be brought together and really feel your spirit and know that you aren't bound by buildings or viruses or by anything besides our imagination. And so we thank you that your spirit still connects us, still moves through us and calls us to be your people. Help us then as we move forward into this week to continue to see the light that shines through the darkness, to continue to be your Easter people that live oftentimes in a Good Friday world. Help us to know that wherever we are, that you go with us and that you bless it all, even our anxieties, our fears, our uncertainties, and our joys and our celebrations and our happiness, that you are somehow there with us in the mix of it all. Help us then to have patience with ourselves and with others. Help us to find ways of being your Easter people, of being your body and working and doing your will in this time as we continue to find ways to build your kingdom. So help us then to never lose sight of your hope and your promise and your claim upon our lives until we're brought together again. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us. Be healthy, be safe, and be blessed until we see you again. Have a good night.
And be Easter people in a Good Friday world. I love that line. Amen. Peace be with you.